Hello, Culture Matters podcast. Boy, am I excited for our episode today. Before I introduce you to our guest, here's a quote just for this episode. I have no special talents. I am only passionately curious. Albert Einstein. Our guest today, a curious learner, passionate founder, solid value contracting, just passed a 1 year anniversary, 10 employees, some leadership, some sales proselytizers, salespeople, growing his company. Great friend of mine and the Culture Matters podcast, fellow bibliophile. That's bibliophile for anyone's half paying attention. A great reader of books and studier of people, member of our amazing top contractor school, Jesse Miller. Thanks for coming on the Culture Matters podcast. And thanks for your passion to serve your customers. You're a great example of what Culture Matters is all about. Really appreciate you and excited to have you on the show, man. I love your company name too.
Awesome. I'm glad to be here. I appreciate that.
What was the inspiration for solid value as opposed to value contracting?
Value can be can be whatever set of of amount, but if something's solid, it's usually a firm foundation to stand on. And I appreciate being able to stand on solid values,
Hmm.
and the values that have are service, integrity, and quality. Not everyone understands them. They think it's a weird combination of way of, making the values, but I believe that serving others is 51% of our duty here on earth. And we need to have integrity because otherwise, how can you have something solid if it doesn't have integrity? And then we're going to give people quality because what is our act worth if we don't put all in and do the best we can? Uh, those are extremely important values to me. So that's what everything about the company name and its values have really deep meaning to me. And every day I at least work towards trying to live out those values in the business and in my personal life. Still human, still fail a lot, but I still always have them in front of me to help guide my actions and words. And everywhere that I don't hit my goals today, I always have tomorrow to get back at it.
Wow. You should, how can you have something solid w without integrity?
I,
What
I
do you mean
don't,
by that?
I I'm not sure. I must have like worded something
You
wrong.
just said, how can you have something solid without integrity?
Right.
What is integrity for the audience that, may think they know, but what's your view of that? How would you describe integrity?
So, and I'm going to reference Keith Calloway Jr.'s statement in this internal framework.
Wow.
It is whenever the internal framework of your mind is a solid framework, and by that, I would, for like a physical way of explaining it, I would explain it as a solid structure. It's going to have a foundation on it, a solid foundation. It's going to be built in a way that it is not moved by random forces.
Hmm.
Um, when the internal framework is solid, all the corners are clean, the integrity of the whole structure is there, not just the appearance thereof.
Wow.
And it won't fail with normal or heavy use or other forces. I wouldn't say it won't fail because all three-dimensional things seem to have a failing point. Uh, but under normal conditions, you're always going to find there what you expect to get there. And you're not
Mm.
going to find things that are contrary to what is considered to be good and solid.
You said that 51% is service.
For
What's the
service to
49?
others.
Service to others is 51%. What's the
Correct.
49?
The 49% service to self. But you always need to, it is it is better to focus slightly more on others. Um, it is very bad to lose view of serving self, because if we don't take care of ourselves,
Mm.
then we're basically worthless when it comes to serving others, or we're going to run out. But
Mm.
if we keep the idea of 51 and 49%, then we're always skewed towards the service of others and keeping others in mind slightly before ourselves. Uh,
What do you say to those that talk about putting the oxygen mask on themselves, or use that in that example of if you don't put the oxygen mask on yourself, then you can't put it on the kid. But it seems as though that's always an analogy that's used to after it's like, no, it's all percent. It's not 51% about serving self, but like 99% about serving self, and then do you follow what I'm saying? Like
well,
there's
we
a strain of thought out there in the
right.
influence world. It's like it's about me first and everybody else, and the people use that analogy of like you got to put the mask on yourself if the plane is going down,
I
and then you.
I think that that could lead to misunderstandings about what the purpose of putting the mask on yourself is. The purpose to put the mask on yourself is not to preserve yourself. It is so you have the capability of helping to preserve others.
Mm.
So it's definitely not, okay, I'm going to put the mask on myself first because I'm most important here. It's I'm going to put the mask on myself so I have the so I'm conscious enough to put the mask on whoever I can reach
Mm.
if they need help. And then we all have a better chance of surviving. So so the self-preservation is important, because if we don't preserve ourselves to the best of our ability, then we're absolutely useless to serving others. So and that's a huge thing, because humans are innately selfish. So if a person doesn't understand that, they're going to think it appears that the person is taking care of themselves first, in a selfish way. But if they would look at the subsequent actions, they could see that the subsequent actions could not have been performed if the primary action of self-care had not been performed.
Mm. Like it's a precondition to the actual
Correct.
action. The metaphor is about the precondition, not the action.
Correct.
And that gets that I see because I see that get jumbled a lot in
Hmm.
like speeches and proselytizing
Right, because people
philosophy
may
and
use
stuff.
that as far as, uh, yes, people can easily see that in a selfish way, like, hey, we need to take care of ourselves first. Uh,
I hear that a lot.
Correct.
That's why I'm asking you, yeah, what you
Yeah.
what you think about what is service? If
So,
you want to explain it in the sense of um, how you work with your customers, what are the ways that you think that you would argue would be service oriented, as opposed to non-service oriented? And you use the example of your business.
uh-huh.
What's the
Okay.
service orientation actually look like? Um,
So, are you asking, as far as coming from a business point of view, how do I put service into action?
Absolutely, yeah.
Okay. So that would be, well, we put the oxygen mask on ourselves, and how we would do that for our customers is, and I might not be going in the correct order, but I hope. So one very good thing about serving ourselves for the oxygen mask, making sure we charge enough money. That's a huge thing in the construction business right now. People undercharging for the work, and it is detrimental to both the contractor and the customer because without enough money in the bank account, then the contractor struggles to do the project that the customer wants done, and the customer is left wondering why their oxygen mask doesn't work right because the contractor didn't install theirs correctly. So they're having problems helping the customer put on theirs, and the customer's inexperienced. So the
Mm,
customer knows there's a problem. They know that they're not functioning well with the work provided, but they don't understand why. That's why the professional or the educated person needs to serve the customer by correctly figuring the quote, charging the correct amount of money, and then when the customer provides that money, like the product and the feeling that the customer get is fantastic. And they always walk, not always, but most of the time, the customer will feel very satisfied. And a customer feeling satisfied and our work being done to the standards is a great service.
mm. Wh- What type of due diligence does it take to get that pricing right?
So the
Like,
biggest,
yeah.
so making sure that the oxygen is turned on in your mask, making sure that you check all the pricing for the materials, that you consider different pricing for different areas, that you consider the customer's level of expectation. And there's like a variety of factors on that, and also take your intuition about the situation. And if customers seem like they will require extra care, it is the responsibility of the contractor to charge those people more money than the average person so they can serve that customer well and that customer can still get a great experience.
Mm,
It's so counterintuitive to people because the people that think they want the biggest discounts actually get the best experience when they pay a little bit more.
what was the inspiration for you starting your business?
I wanted to have a company to work for that I could trust to do the right thing.
Wow.
And I did not want to start a business. I wanted to work under somebody else because being the tip of the spear is what hits first.
What do you mean?
So I use that analogy as uh, a spear being a tool of work that is, and it's like a single, for the purpose of the metaphor, the tip's a single point. And every time the spear gets used, the tip hits first. That receives the most damage. Um, the second part of the blade might do the most work, might be considered the most useful, but the tip is what starts the work and what receives the most damage in use, usually. So I did not want to be the tip, but when I realized that I wanted to have a life that when I looked at it, I guess I can back up. I was working towards that solid internal framework because life is more about feelings than facts if we actually look at it. And I wanted to feel like I was doing things correctly. So in order to do things correctly, I had to put my energy into something that was solid, um, and the most correct that I could figure out. So I went into business for myself, very scared,
Mm.
but knowing that this was what had to be done in order for me to be able to serve other people around me the best.
What are the hardest things about the first year of a business?
Keeping the mind going. The work itself, it's not that hard. Well, I say the work itself, like the physical labor of a construction business, is the easiest part of it. If you have like the knowledge or the ability to figure it out, um, it is the mental strength to work when others are partying. I mean, I'll give you like an example of my week during the first year, the first 10 months of business. It would start off with getting up for work at about 5 or 6 a.m., you know, going to Lowe's or something to get materials, going to the job site, working for a whole day. During that day, maybe stopping over lunch to go see another customer, and then coming back to work, leaving work when the sun went down because it's harder to work after the sun's down, coming home, eating dinner, going to the office, putting in a full day's work in the office, going to bed between 12 and 2, and waking up the next morning to go back to work because the customers expect you to both be there working and they expect you to get the quotes back in reasonable time. And there's no understanding why those can't be done. So in order to be the most successful, those have to be done until the business is built to the point where other people can come in and help to take the workload. And the mental strength it takes to do that day after day, at least 6 days a week. I was doing it 7 days a week for not 7 days a week all year, but most times 7 days a week
Oh.
grinding. And the mental strength that it takes to do that when other people are going, dude, you need to take some time off. Okay. You know, like, and I guess acknowledging and understanding that someone that's doing that kind of work without inflating self-ego, just trying to look at the facts, you're in the 1%, which means you need to ignore the advice of everybody except those that have walked very close to the same pathway and been successful at it.
Hmm. Did you ever want to quit?
I think there were portions of me that wanted to quit. It was want to quit. I don't I don't know. I think so. I don't know that I entertained that idea a lot.
Wow.
Like I think the idea tried to enter my mind many times, but if you're focused on something and you really want to achieve the goal, then you have to take a hardcore stance of only entertaining thoughts that are good. Because me and want to quit could have sit down and been friends at at any given point in that time. And I chose to be less than an acquaintance with that thought.
I wonder what's an antonym to value?
Can you find antonym? I'm not sure what you mean by antonym.
Antonym.
Oh, antonym to value.
Yeah.
Or okay. So
You know what I'm saying? Like, because I just thought about for a second antonym to the word value. Yeah, I just thought of what you just explained to me comes across as very hard. What's an antonym? Oh, flaws, faults, demerits, failings, disvalues, blemishes, disadvantage, detriments. So maybe soft defects contracting would be the opposite.
yes.
I'm just thinking like the person that's not putting in or unwilling to do what you've done. Soft defects contracting. Our work
Correct.
reflects our values. Da, da, da. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
I
So,
don't know. That's where my mind goes with it. That's
so
a hardcore story.
somebody who would have been less successful or would have not had a vision of service to others would have struggled with quality, or they would struggle with putting in quality work, and they might have said, "Well, it's good enough," because they didn't feel like it. Okay. They might have said, "You know what? I don't care about those customers' expectations. I'm going to push them off to whatever I get around to it." That text message that came in that I don't want to respond to, that phone call that came and I ignored. Um, you know, for soft values, you could, or like soft defective mindset, I could have just not called them back ever.
Mm.
But it's things like taking the time, and I learned this from Frank Cornetti.
Oh wow.
You
Shout out to
have
Frank.
time. Yes, you have time to text back. You do have time to text back, even if it's a couple words that says, "Hey, I'm really busy right now. I'll get back to you when I can." In order to make those other humans know that you value them. So not answering text messages because I think it's not important. Not calling the customer back that I know is frustrated about something.
Mm.
Hiding work blemishes or maybe where I thought they would have been seen. Still doing good quality work, even if no one's ever gonna know, ever probably gonna know that you correctly framed this object or whatever. Because the only time it would fail would be like in a tornado or something, and people
Wow.
would probably not know that it was your fault that this failed.
That's some that's some dark energy if the person that's not putting that in right, don't you think?
I've seen it, and me being able to contrast that is what helped me. I first had to have the other contrast in order for me to know
Oh.
what I wanted to do.
So are you saying that your energy to persevere and push through was coming from purpose, from a deep sense of meaning?
Oh yes, yes, there was the purpose, because you can't do this just for the money. I mean, maybe some people could,
Don't you have a Lamborghini?
not yet. No.
I'm just, I'm just it's like you get a Lamborghini, you get a Lamborghini. Everybody wants a Lamborghini. What about the bridges? Is anybody going to build you know what I'm saying? Like, what about the framing? Sorry, just bad culture out there.
Everybody gets a truck if they're going to use it for work, and and they're also going to put their effort into it.
So
But
just go back. If
yes,
you're was part of it your inspiration to push through that first 10 months in the absence of ideal work scenario to do the best job possible was part of that you driving from the thought that someone else could be soft and defective or not giving the best service, not of the highest quality, um
that so that
not
wasn't
of integrity.
that wasn't the driving force for me. That just helped me understand what the right thing was to do.
Okay.
The driving force behind it was my solid knowledge that the only truly valuable thing, not only truly valuable, the most focus, the 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 thing or element of highest value of my life was making a difference in other people's lives. If Because if we focus on ourselves, people might remember greedy people, but it often seems people that are focused on themselves tend to implode. Focusing on others is what grows, because what the energy that we put out would definitely be compounded back to us. And we can do that. We can give not with the intent to receive, but with the knowledge that giving, there's a law in place. I believe there's a universal law in place that what you send out comes back. So you can focus on serving others not with the intent to get, but with the knowledge that that does come back to you. So it is reasonable to focus a lot on serving others because you know that by doing that, the law works in the background to make sure you're taken care of. The energy pendulum will repay those that put the energy into the pendulum.
Hmm.
And if you don't know that reference specifically, that is from Reality Transurfing. And it's a book written by Vadim Zeeland.
When did you first start reading and studying?
I think it was 2016.
Is it, does it feel weird to be the most well-read contractor?
Does it feel weird to be the most well-read contractor? It don't know that it feels weird. I know I'm an unusual person because of my views, but I don't know that I have a weird feeling about it because I do my best to be authentic. So by being authentic, I don't really feel weird because I know my calling is probably way different than the contractors who do not operate like me.
Do you think there's a connection with how fast the growth has been and all your self-development, like your reading and your thoughtfulness over the years?
Well, is it the Chinese bamboo that you got to water for years and then 1 year it grows? So I learned that analogy a while ago. And I say, wow, I mean some years that I'm not sure when I learned that. But yes, so I was very aware, while other people were probably unaware around me, that I was planting, I was cultivating and planting my mind
Hmm.
as if it was a field where I was planning on growing a big crop.
Wow.
And and that was the purpose because I felt like a very normal, maybe somewhat dumb person. Okay. But based on my understanding of the
Wow.
brain, if you program it correctly, it's not like a computer, but it has some similar things. If you program it correctly, there's a highly likely chance that it will produce the vision that you want to see.
Hmm.
So I actually focus on 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 doing the prep work while I was while what some people would consider to be a nobody, just an average person listening to audiobooks instead of music. Driving down the road, I would feel almost guilty listening to music because music is a feel good thing.
Yeah.
But if you have purpose, then sometimes you do the things that need to be done, such as programming your mind with certain books. Uh, and the first one being The Magic of Thinking Big. That was
Oh,
my
really?
very first book.
What year was that?
That was 2016. Charisse Crawl, one of my good friends, gave me that book. And before she gave me that book, she sat me down and she said, what would you do if money was not in the way or lack of money was not in the way? She said, close your eyes and imagine what you would do if you had all the money in the world. I was like, oh, what would I do?
Wow.
Do this and this. Now that vision has changed over time, but that sparked it. It was primarily first the yacht, the big house, the nice cars, big trucks, because I come from Central Missouri, so like a big truck is like value your masculinity.
Wow.
So those were the primary physical things that started drawing me into more self-development because I understood at that point that self-development was the path to more. Then as I got deeper into self-development, I started hearing things such as wealth is in the mind, it's created by the mind. And that really fascinated me because I wanted to become wealthy. And then I realized that wealth was actually a product of serving others. It wasn't something that that can directly, well, except by extreme intent, you cannot gain wealth directly.
Hmm. Wealth was a product of serving others.
Correct.
What's your take on culture?
Well, the culture of a company
Yeah.
is the the culture of a company is the same as the internal framework of the mind. So it is what would build having a good culture within a company is mandatory for the company to function correctly, which means that the people that do not fit in the company have to be as loving as possible, help to understand that their place is not within the company. So over the year, there's been multiple people that I have told that we're not a good fit currently because I was so focused that the culture had to be correct. In the book Think and Grow Rich, it talks that that the group, the mastermind that we have around us has to be in harmony. It does not say kind of in harmony. It says it has to be in harmony. So that comes back to if I'm going to serve others well, if I'm going to put that oxygen mask on myself in order to serve the most people possible, at some point we have to put the oxygen mask on our company as an extension of ourselves, which means that anything keeping us from putting the oxygen mask off has to be removed, even if that means other human beings, the human beings being handled with as much kindness and love as possible, even even if they have to get removed from the area. And then I've also found that most of the people that gravitate towards people with certain values, most of those will be a good fit. Because there's always two kinds of people that come attracted to somebody who's moving forward. Those are the ones that align with that person's values, and also the people that see it as possibly a free ride to the top for
Mm.
themselves.
Mm. Now, what's the actual value proposition of your organization? It's remodeling.
Residential construction. So, well, residential and commercial construction. 2025 is going to be the year that we expand into commercial construction. And I'm actively making moves to incorporate that into the business because that is what's going to help it grow. Because we have huge plans on how we're going to serve others. And in order for that, there has to be substantial profits to be able to allocate those profits into service to others outside of construction.
Mm. What's been the biggest lesson for 2024?
My biggest lesson for 2024 was authenticity and a solid internal framework. When I heard that, I heard it over the summer at the summer TCS event. I knew that was what I needed. That was those were the words that I was searching for that helped me organize what needed to be organized within me. And it was the hardest work I've ever done is to realize that everything that's internally expresses itself externally. There's nothing hidden. So if you don't want people to see what's inside you, you better clean it up.
Wow. Wow, that's powerful. What's been the top, how would you describe the top contractor school?
It's almost like a it's it's like a family in a sense. Like I see these people as my older sisters and brothers who have gone the path before me. And when we see other people accomplish things, it's a lot easier to know, okay, if I make this step, I'm probably going to make it because we have confirmation. And that's one thing I try to be good at is I see, okay, well, I'm struggling at this, but this person is these many steps ahead of me when it comes to this. So if they did it, I can probably too. And if I fail at doing it, I have people to go ask how they did it and go back and try. Never allowing failure to be an option. I and so when it comes to top contractor school, and it's not so much the advice necessarily, it's being around people that have a higher balance sheet than I do. And that's important to me because it would be very easy for me to look at the profit and loss and go, I'm doing really good. So being around people that have, a profit and loss statement 10, 20 times more than mine helps bring me down to a reasonable mindset that this is not the place to stop and relax. And it keeps me from getting comfortable where I'm at. Because so many businesses, they will, once they hit a certain level, they get comfortable because they're big in their own circle. If you have a small circle in your own little town, that's cool. Like you can feel like top dog there, but go hang out with some people that are above your level, and all of a sudden that entrepreneurial drive that helped you build up to where you're at will come back.
Mm. What's your word for 25?
I've not defined that yet, but it would include, I don't want to use the generic word growth. It's more, I think the word for 25 is going to be teamwork. And by that I mean having a mastermind group in harmony that will further the purpose.
When you said you don't think it's going to be grow, I wrote, I never really looked at grow this way, but the word go is in grow.
Okay.
It's like, I feel like I need to go, you know, I need to go forward.
And
Some
that
people
that's
need to
probably
go. Yeah, I just felt
you
connected
know,
to that for a second.
I,
Like,
I would probably I don't I was searching for a single word, but the meaning of what I'm feeling would be to go at an incline.
mm,
And that's like go would be a great word because we're moving forward at a fast pace, way outside my comfort zone. Even though I'm a business owner, I am scared almost every day because it feels like the purpose that I've given so much energy to is now pushing itself in a way. I could slow it down, but I don't want to. Instead of slowing it down, I keep adding fuel to it. But that's why the framework, like the culture of the company and the internal framework of the owner's mind is so important because if those things are not stable, then the whole movement could run off course really fast at the speed that it's going.
When did you write your book?
I believe it was the fall of 2018, like maybe either November or December 2018 was whenever I went into the room, closed the door, and within a matter of 2 days I wrote it because it had been growing already in my mind, but I always put it off until a more convenient time. Until finally I just took time and I went into a room and I wrote it and I published it. Because my point of view was that if I have this urge, this knowledge that I need to write a book, even though there's many others out there, because my excuse was normally, they have other self-development books to read. But what if my book was the one that caught their attention and the others didn't, but my book wasn't there?
Uh,
And
how about go ahead, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, like, and then the world didn't get changed in a positive way, whether it's the world of one person or the world of many people. Like even the flutter of the butterfly can supposedly cause a hurricane.
Uh, What was the first event you ever went to?
It was a life leadership conference. There's a company called Life. I believe they still exist. I haven't like looked them up, but there's years ago they were called Life Leadership. They're a self-development company, and they're basically a company of people very unique. I think back then they were more in self-development than they might be now, but it was a company that sold self-development things like books, and then they consume those books. So fantastic way to grow minds. Like, how better to grow minds than to compensate for self-developing and helping develop others?
Hmm. Hey, what do you say to the listener that's really, you know, thinking about starting a business? They're working for a company that d doesn't that believes in like balance, or or like not, maybe not, but like it is, kind of doing it on the side, or
Oh, so okay, so a person that's thinking about starting a business that and the person believes in a work-life balance, or
yeah,
in
like, or they heard what you said earlier about the degree of effort that you put in the first year and think, well, that's not going to be me, or that's not what I'm going to have to do.
so what would I say to the person who wants to start a business, but they might hear what I said about the amount of effort I put in and not think that it's for
They,
them?
yeah, or that's too much, you know, doesn't have to be that way.
It and that's the great thing. It doesn't have to be that way. Okay, there's probably people with more intelligence than me who would be able to accomplish what I did with less physical and less mental labor. Okay, so I'm sure those people are out there. Like, so to the people that want to start a business and heard me say that I put in a lot of work, um, first I would examine the purpose of why you want to start a business. Okay? Because if you're gonna have people working for you, you need to be dedicated because these are people's lives. Like, people like you who want to be safe at a job, but you feel it inside you that you need to start a business. Think of the people that are going to be working for you and know that they're going to want to feel secure. So before you take that endeavor, know that at the very least you're going to try to take care of people. You need to be willing to put in enough work that the people who trust in you will be safe. Because there's people with more intelligence than you that need more safety than you. So the work, there's no way around some hard work. We have to be willing to put the oxygen mask on ourselves, yes, but the purpose is that so we can make sure the ones that's around us also get the oxygen mask. Like from my point of view, there is no ethical way to offer somebody work, which if you're going to grow the business, you're going to offer work to other people, most likely. And you have to be willing to put in extra work to take care of them. But you can grow the business slower and like a little bit more balance. But there is no way around the work.
Mm. Jesse,
Yes.
thanks for a solid value podcast on service, integrity, and quality. I love your core values of your company and what you stand for, represent. It's been a great gift to have you on the show, and thanks for your friendship over the years and just, recognizing what I was trying to do early on. So I really appreciate it, and I challenge our listeners to follow. Where can they follow you? Just one place, like, are you active on Instagram?
I am a little bit. The best way to follow me is on Facebook. You can just search for Jesse Miller. If not, you can search for Solid Value Contracting LLC because I know there's probably Jesse Millers out there. You can find me. I got a picture of me in the hat on. So that's like the icon that you can look for. And if for some reason you can't find that, you can search Clinton, Missouri, or you can search for Solid Value Contracting, and that should lead to the Facebook. I sometimes like the Solid Value Contracting Facebook posts, so they should be able to find me there. They can follow, add me as a friend, reach out, connect. I love connecting with other people, especially those looking to grow either personally or in business.
Hmm. Thank you all for listening. Please follow our friend Jesse. Leave us a review on the Culture Matters podcast, and we will see you next time.